Commander Vexithar stood 8 feet tall, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights of the diplomatic station. For 3 centuries, he had been the undisputed champion of the Galactic Combat Federation, his species' natural armor and lightning reflexes making him virtually untouchable in battle. His forearms could strike with the force of plasma cannons, and his compound eyes could track 17 different targets simultaneously. He was, by every measurable standard, the most formidable warrior the galaxy had ever known. Today, he faced his greatest challenge yet. "You want me to play?" Vexthar's translator struggled with the concept as he stared down at the small human child before him. Ambassador Chen smiled nervously, adjusting her diplomatic robes. "It's a cultural exchange program, Commander. Little Emma here is the daughter of our head terraforming engineer. The Council thought it would be educational for both species to interact." The child, Emma, couldn't have been more than 6 Earth years old. She barely reached Vexithar's knee joint, her soft pink flesh looking impossibly fragile compared to his diamond-hard carapace. 2 small eyes, inefficiently positioned at the front of her skull, looked up at him with what his species would classify as predatory excitement. "Tag!" Emma shouted, slapping one of his lower arms with her tiny hand before darting away with a giggle. Vexthar's combat instincts kicked in immediately. His enhanced reflexes, honed through countless battles, tracked the child's movement as she scampered behind a decorative plant. She was slower than a Zephyrian pain wasp, less agile than an Andromedan shadowcat, and her biomechanics were laughably inefficient. This would be over in seconds. He pursued, his movements a blur of practiced precision. But as he reached for the child, she dropped to her knees and crawled under a low table, emerging on the other side while he was still processing the maneuver. She had anticipated his approach vector. "Can't catch me," Emma called out, sticking out her tongue, a gesture that Vexthar's cultural database identified as either a threat display or mockery. The commander recalibrated. Clearly, the child was more cunning than initial scans had indicated. He approached more methodically, cutting off her escape routes using his superior reach and tactical awareness. As Emma ran toward the wall, he positioned himself to intercept, all 4 arms spread wide to prevent any possible evasion. The child suddenly pivoted, sliding on her knees across the polished floor, passing directly beneath his spread arms while he was committed to the intercept trajectory. By the time he'd adjusted, she was already touching his leg. "Tag, you're it again." Vexthar's mandibles clicked in confusion. This was impossible. His probability matrices showed a 99.97% chance of success with each attempt, yet the child continued to evade him through maneuvers that defied tactical logic. Ambassador Chen watched from the sidelines, her expression shifting from nervousness to poorly concealed amusement, as the galaxy's greatest warrior found himself consistently outmaneuvered by a giggling 6-year-old. "This is highly irregular," Vexthar muttered, recalculating his approach for the 15th time. "The child's movement patterns make no sense. She sacrifices optimal speed for unnecessary lateral motion, yet somehow maintains unpredictability." Emma had discovered that she could hide behind the ambassador's legs, using the adult as mobile cover, while Vexthar tried to process the ethics of moving a diplomatic representative to reach his target. When he finally worked around Chen, the child had already relocated to hanging upside down from a decorative railing, a position that served no strategic purpose, but somehow placed her just out of his reach. "Having trouble, Commander?" Chen asked, no longer bothering to hide her smile. Vexthar's pride stung. He was a warrior who had single-handedly defeated the hive fleets of Kepler 442. He had outdueled the quantum-shifting assassins of the Void Courts. He had stood alone against an entire battalion of war mechs and emerged victorious. Yet this small, soft creature continued to evade him through what appeared to be pure chaos. Emma dropped from the railing and began running in seemingly random patterns, not away from him but in circles, figure eights, and spirals that made no tactical sense whatsoever. Vexthar found his predictive algorithms failing completely. Every time he thought he'd anticipated her next move, she would suddenly change direction for no apparent reason, other than she'd spotted something interesting. "Ooh, a butterfly," she exclaimed, chasing a holographic decoration while Vexthar lunged at empty air behind her. It was then that the commander experienced something unprecedented. Doubt. Not about his abilities, but about his fundamental understanding of strategy itself. He had been approaching this as a hunt, assuming the child would behave according to optimal survival patterns. But Emma wasn't trying to survive, she was playing. Her movements weren't random. They were joyful. She ran toward pretty things, changed direction when something caught her interest, and seemed to derive genuine pleasure from the act of movement itself. For the first time in 3 centuries, Vexthar was facing an opponent who wasn't trying to win. She was simply enjoying herself. The realization struck him like a plasma bolt to the thorax. Every opponent he'd ever faced had been driven by survival, strategy, or victory. They moved with purpose, followed logical patterns, and could therefore be predicted and countered. But Emma moved with pure, unbridled creativity, not bound by tactical thinking or even self-preservation instincts. As she cartwheeled past him for the 3rd time, laughing delightedly at her own motion, Vexthar finally understood why he couldn't catch her. He had been fighting a war while she had been dancing. "I yield," he announced, sitting heavily on a nearby bench. Emma skipped over and patted his arm consolingly. "That's okay. Daddy says I'm really good at tag because I don't think too much. Want to play hide-and-seek instead?" Ambassador Chen stepped forward, her expression carefully diplomatic but her eyes twinkling with mirth. "Perhaps we should document this cultural exchange for the council records." Vexithar looked down at the small human child, who was now attempting to teach him how to skip, and felt something he'd never experienced before. Humility mixed with genuine admiration. "Indeed," he rumbled. "Let the galaxy know that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or their warfare. It's their ability to find joy in chaos and to never let logic interfere with wonder." Emma beamed up at him. "Does this mean you want to be friends?" The galaxy's strongest warrior considered this for a moment, then extended one massive hand for her to shake with both of hers. "I would be honored, small warrior." And for the first time in 3 centuries, Commander Vexthar had found an opponent he was genuinely happy to lose to.